people come from all walks of life. They all have lives they lead. Any and all are welcome here to come and chat with me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, I think most of us have been touched by cancer, whether it's a personal journey or a loved one or a good friend. And I think for most people, it's always so good to hear when somebody is now cancer-free. It's such a wonderful success story, I think, and it gives us hope for everyone. So, and now today's guest just so happens to be that person who is cancer-free. This is my first time seeing him live. Well, not in person, but live. And his name is Douglas Hewer. Did I pronounce that right, Douglas?
Yes.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I'm so awesome that you're willing to, I'm so pleased that you're willing to talk about this. But I want to ask.
Yeah, I want to help people. If possible, I'd love to help some people go through it.
Okay. So I just want to ask you first, like, before you were diagnosed with cancer, what was your life like? What were you doing?
I'm not a normal person. I lived a very extraordinary, adventurous life. I spent years in the Himalayas riding a motorcycle from Afghanistan to Bhutan.
Oh.
I'm a product of Woodstock generation,
Yeah.
And so I didn't really live a normal life. I mostly was in the cannabis business most of my life.
Okay.
And
I love that. I love it.
I was pretty successful. I only spent 3 years in jail and 55 years in the business. That's funny, eh?
Good for you. I love it. So now tell me about when you were first diagnosed with cancer.
When I was first diagnosed, I went to see a so-called doctor in Chilliwack who wasn't really a doctor, but the College of Physicians let him work. And they insured him, and they never checked on him for 6 years. And he really wasn't a doctor. And so I went with him with a lump on my neck.
Right.
And it was maybe December of 2000. I don't even remember, it's so many years ago, but I went to see him, and he gave me some antibiotics. So he thought I just had a swollen gland, a lymph node on my right side of my neck. And the antibiotics I took, I did the whole regime, and it didn't go away. So I went back to see the doctor, and I said, it's not going away. I have this lump. And so he set me up for an ultrasound, which was par for the course, right? So I went to the ultrasound, and afterwards, it still didn't go away. So I went to see him again. And he wasn't there. He had gone on vacation. And there was a fill-in doctor there, and she told me to come back and see him when he got back from vacation. So I waited a month for him to get back. I don't know where he went, but he came back from vacation. I went to see him. I said, the lump is still here. This is like 6-7 months later.
Right.
And instead of sending me for a biopsy like any normal doctor would do, he set up another ultrasound. So the ultrasound, I didn't realize till years later when I read the ultrasound, but in the ultrasound people were trying to advise the doctor there was more lumps. And then that's where they wrote, they said, by the way, there's more lumps. So they were trying to tell him something. But maybe 3-4 months later, I go to see him. 2 months later, I go to see him, it's still there. And I said, well, there's something wrong. So he sets me up for another ultrasound.
Oh my gosh.
So I wait another month. I go to the ultrasound, and they send the paper back to the doctor, which I didn't realize it until I got my medical files later.
Mm-hmm.
But in the ultrasound, people mentioned, and they stated, oh, by the way, as previously mentioned, there is more lumps. They were trying to tell him something. But the doctor never read the ultrasounds, and that's against the law.
Right.
But he just filed them. Because if he had read the ultrasounds, he would have sent me for a biopsy.
Right.
So by now, it's another year, January later, next January, right? And my mom is dying of cancer in Nova Scotia. So I hopped on a plane and went to see her. because I knew that if I didn't see her now, it was going to get worse.
Right.
She was terminal. So I went to see her, and then as soon as I got back from 2 weeks in Nova Scotia, I went to my doctor again and said, this lump is not going away. And it's been like over a year and a half now. What the hell? So, and my friend came with me and advised the doctor to send me for a biopsy. I didn't know this. I was being mistreated at the time, you know. Right. So finally, I went to see Dr. Schwartz in Chilliwack, and he's pretty mad. He go, why am I seeing you now? Because you see, the order for the biopsy was dated a year earlier. So he finally sent that paper he had set up but forgot about to the surgeon. And the surgeon was pretty mad about this. So the surgeon took the biopsy. And within 5 days, I got a call to go to his office. And I went to the office, and he had me sitting there for a long time. He had this other young student with him, right? And I guess they're trying to figure out a way to tell me I had cancer. So then they come into the room, they tell me you have cancer. And I'm like, what? And I said, so what are they going to do about it? He says, I don't know. BC Cancer Agency will get a hold of you. So I said, okay. So I couldn't really wrap my head around this. But I went and got in my car and rode home. You know, I can't really believe what the guy told me. Like, cancer, really? And anyway, within 3 days, the BC Cancer Agency had me at Abbotsford and set me up for a PET scan in Vancouver. Right. And I went to Vancouver and got the PET scan, which is very slow process where you have to sit for an hour without moving. Then they put you in the donut for an hour where you can't move. And then they take a scan of your whole body. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then within 2 days, they had me in Abbotsford and they showed me the PET scan. It's called a PET scan, PET or whatever. And they told me, you have stage 4C cancer. And she showed me the PET scan on the computer, and it looked like fireworks right across my neck from ear to ear, like the Highlander movie when they chop the head off, just flames.
Yeah. The
cancer shows up like that with the PET scan.
Wow.
And then I said, wow, can you help me? And she said, well, we're going to try. And I'm like, what do you mean you're going to try? Can you save me? She said, we don't know. She says, you're stage 4C. You have like a 30% chance to survive this. And I'm like, what? And she says, but if you quit smoking, you have 10% more chance to survive. I'm like, wow, that sounds good. 40% sounds better than 30. So anyway, I never picked up a cigarette after that day, of course. And thank God, don't smoke anymore. But I never did smoke in my life. I never smoked till I was 27. And they threw me in jail for marijuana and gave me a pouch of tobacco. And the funny thing was, now I'm with the cancer agency, right? And they're telling me, do you use cannabis? And I'm like, yes. They said, you're going to need it. Because they know. They know. Yeah. They know how bad a ride. They said, listen, fatten up. Get as much weight on as you can. You're going to be in the hospital next week. Eat, eat, eat. And I didn't realize what they were saying. I tried to gain a little weight, but how much can you gain in 1 week, right? Yeah. I didn't know what was coming, but they did. And then the next thing I know, I'm in Abbotsford Hospital. And the first round of chemo right away, radiation started. And they gave me a chemo called cisplatin. Cisplatin is a platinum-based chemotherapy. Very, very toxic. It's like a last resort kind of chemo. The first round, I didn't seem to feel much effect from it. I was okay for the first 2 weeks. And the radiation hadn't killed my taste buds yet. I was still able to eat and everything. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, the second round of chemo, and the next thing I know, I'm vomiting every 3 minutes, 24/7. And all of a sudden, everything tastes like plastic to me. One tastes like I'm eating plastic. And then I can't even swallow anymore after another week. And then I can't eat. And then the month goes by and I don't eat anything. I can't get anything in my throat. And I'm down to 85 pounds. And I'm waiting for a feeding tube. And an accident on the highway, and I got bumped from the operation. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying here, right? And I got really mad, and I walked out of the hospital, and which they got really mad, but I really needed that feeding tube. And then my doctor got me back in. They didn't want to let me back in the hospital, but he said, I can't watch you die. You're dying in front of me. I can't watch this.
Right.
So they got me back in, and I got the feeding tube in. And, but you can't use it at first, right? You get like 5 meals a day food. It's like, you got to work up, right? Okay. And the lady beside me dies, and I'm thinking, I don't look any better than her, right? So my body's shutting down, my kidneys, I could feel it, my prostate shut down. I'm bleeding out of every hole in my body. I didn't want to live.
Unbelievable. Wow.
I didn't want to wake up tomorrow. And slowly, I started to come around. But I thought I was gone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Even thinking about it now.
I can feel it from you, It
was hard to take. And then it took months to heal. Even 2 months after, even by Halloween, I had a scab from ear to ear, solid scab, from 35 radiation. Yeah.
But you're here.
I didn't eat for like another 6 months out of feeding tube. And then I had to learn to eat in spring. And I had to learn to chew and swallow. Oh my God, you can't believe it is unbelievably difficult to learn to swallow again. And but anyway, I started to eat in that spring, and I couldn't eat anything except for meat and veggies, asparagus, things like that I could taste. I could start to get some taste buds for asparagus and meat. And I couldn't eat grains. I couldn't go near fruit, couldn't go near milk product, dairy at all. Mm-hmm. And slowly I learned to eat, and everything. It was really a hard process. People don't know it's really hard.
Can I interrupt for just a second? Yeah. I just want to know, were you all alone, or did you have somebody with you?
No, there was people around me. I had a lot of support. And I have a 24-year-old daughter right now. Her mom, I had a lot of friends I'm grateful for. Right now, I still don't drink any milk. I don't eat yogurt. I can't do dairy. I can eat cheese. I can't go near milk. It tastes like Brillo pad to me. Because that hasn't recovered taste buds there. I haven't touched a piece of fruit in 4.5 years.
Is that right, eh?
No, I take vitamins. I take vitamin C, and I try to get vitamin C through peppers and veggies, right?
So,
and I take a vitamin, which I never took in my life, a vitamin, but I take a supplement because I know I'm not getting everything because I don't eat everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though I make my own pastas, I break my own breads, I do everything from scratch. I don't have anything boxed or in my house. I don't eat like that. I eat real foods. I'm an old organic hippie kind of guy, and I always maintain really high quality diet. And I'm super healthy for 69 years old. My blood pressure is 120/80. I'm like a 20-year-old, right? And the only trouble I've had was caused by a law made by ignorant people against cannabis. So I got thrown in jail and started smoking tobacco. The tobacco started cancer in the scar of my tonsils, which I lost my tonsils to the greedy food industry in the 50s because they were using DDT. And a lot of my peers lost their tonsils also because of it. Right. If I had tonsils, I probably never would have got cancer, even though I smoked tobacco at that time. Because if you have tonsils, you have a defense.
Okay.
But I had no defense. And tobacco is a very toxic substance. And
yeah.
So now I feel I'm really happy to be alive. I mean, I went through hell and back. And I don't wish it on anyone, but I really don't know if it was I think that combination of the chemo, the radiation, the cannabis, everything helped me survive it, because I met some people who had the same cancer and they didn't make it. But they didn't use cannabis. So I wonder if that was the one ingredient that was that helped the most.
Could be, eh? Could be.
I don't know, you know. I can't even believe they made, you know, I remember when I was a kid, I'd say, oh, this is going to be legal by 1970. It took them all those years to legalize cannabis, and they know it's healthy. They know it. The cancer agencies know, the doctors know, but, you know, they played politics up there, and they waited 50 years to legalize something that should have been legalized. It's good for you years ago.
Right.
You know, I'm pro cannabis. I paid my dues. I sat 3 years in jail at a cost to the taxpayer, $10 million. $10 million they wasted on me. And you know what? I told the judges, I said, you know, you should be ashamed of yourself. You wasted all that money on an eccentric hippie biker. Are you crazy? Are you sitting on your brains? I said, you should have gave me $2 million and spent the other $8 million on women and children. That would have impressed me. Yeah. You stuck me in a little room that was 4.5 feet by 9 feet, 23 hours a day for 3 years. And you know what? You arrested me for 1 kilo of honey oil. I smoked 4.5 kilos of hashish in your jail. Where are we going with this? Send me to Canada. Get rid of me. This was in Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I figure they spent so much money, they deserve the truth. They wasted their money. And then I come to Canada. At first, they bust me 3 times for growing pot, and then they give me a federal license because they got sick of me too. And then they finally legalized. What the hell's up with these stupid people in this world? Well, they make stupid laws. I mean, this is the 21st century. Why do we have war? Why do we have poverty?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. How is this possible that we have poverty, uneducated people? Really? Why? We should declare war on poverty and ignorance, not on people. There's no reason to kill people. It's the stupidest idea in the world. That's not human. You know, maybe I'm just a dumb old hippie, but really, these people ought to wake up and stop killing each other for some ism and some way of believing in God. I don't care which you think God is. You have no right to kill me. And I have no right to kill you. And you can't kill people over the creator. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
That's total nonsense. I mean, I hate to say it, but I grew up in the USA. I lost my home there because I went to too many Grateful Dead shows. I was too American for them. I was born in Canada. So they had to get rid of me. So they deported me. They sent me under deportation because I was too American. And I'm so happy I ended up in British Columbia. It's the most beautiful place in the world. Yeah. I get to ride my Harley Davidson around here. Nice farm country. And it's beautiful. I can go skiing at Whistler and Blackcomb. I'm in one of the nicest places on earth. That's what I think. So Uncle Sam did me a big favor by kicking my butt back in many, many years ago, because I grew up in Boston, right?
Okay.
The cradle of the American Revolution, okay? I mean, I dropped acid and smoked pot at the Concord-Lexington Bridge, where the Revolutionary War was started. I'm so American, but I'm never allowed to go there. Is that funny or what?
Well, it's interesting, that's for sure. But, you know,
I've had an extraordinary life. And
well, I'm going to end this here because...
there's one thing else. The doctor I had, this is really important. Okay. The doctor I had in Chilliwack, he wasn't a doctor. His name was Cambridge. Him and his wife ran like a McDonald's of medical in Chilliwack here.
I've heard, yes, I heard about them, yes.
Anyway, I didn't find out that he mistreated me until I got my records, that he never read my ultrasounds. He broke the law so many times, right? And then when you've been treated like that, you have no idea you've been mistreated. Right. It wasn't by the cancer agency. The cancer agency, they're the best, okay? They're awesome. And the nurses are angels. But this doctor I had almost killed me. Yeah, and the funny thing was, I found out just a few days before my statute of limitation was ended, I found out that they weren't doctors. It was on the news. So I called up a lawyer, and I was able to file a lawsuit 3 days before the statute ran out in Supreme Court in Vancouver. Wow. I'm so lucky. And I got a lawsuit, and it comes up in May. I have discovery 2 days in Supreme Court in May in Vancouver. And it'll never get to trial. I have a trial a year later, but they don't have any defense because their only defense is negligence. I have letters from doctors and UBC professors that I'm the most diligent patient they ever had because I did a Hep C treatment years before that they gave me Hep C in German jail, but using reusable needles, which almost killed me too. But the thing is, I had this great pharmacology doctor from UBC and a nurse, and they cured me of Hep C. And they wrote a letter in my medical files that I was the most model patient they ever had, the best. So the Negligence Act is not going to work for the insurance company, for the College of Physicians. And I'm going to nail them to the wall for what they did to me.
Good. And they deserve it. They sure deserve it.
You know what? They should never have doctors who aren't doctors. If you're not a doctor, you have no right to call yourself a doctor.
I agree.
And they let this guy work for 6 years with no supervision. Saskatchewan closed him down within 2 weeks. And then they came to BC and they pulled the wool over the College of Physicians' eyes there and worked for 6 years, made twice what most doctors make. And they're not even in the country right now. These people rob people, and they, you know what? I've met other patients from Mr. Cambridge who died, whose wife died and different things. And it's really horrible. But one old guy said, well, you should sue. And, you know, the statute of limitations is very short. But the thing is, this old guy said, well, I have no family, I have no children. He didn't care. But Cambridge killed his wife. I have another friend. He killed her aunt.
Wow.
You know, incompetent doctors is, I'm sorry, but, you know, I always trusted doctors. I always thought you go to a doctor, you trust them.
Yes.
Who would ever think they're not doctors?
Absolutely. Yeah. Who would think that? Yeah, exactly.
I was appalled.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at Cambridge. I didn't go back to him after I got out of the hospital for cancer. He was still working. I didn't go back to him because I was afraid I would end up in jail for what he did to me. I knew what he did to me. And I was afraid to go near him because I would have assaulted him.
Yeah.
So I kept away from him to protect myself because I knew what would happen if I seen him. This guy almost killed me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Douglas, I'm going to have to end this, but listen, we're going to have you on again. I'm going to have you on again, okay? Because I want to hear about your interesting life. What I've heard so far is really interesting. So I want to know more because I like learning things about people, okay?
Yeah, I should write a book, actually. I've had an extraordinary life.
Just stay there for a second while I say goodbye to the audience, okay? And I'll get right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's other people?
No. I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience and then I'll get back to you. So just hold on. Okay,
sure,
everybody. I hope you found Douglas Hewer Stewie very interesting. I sure did. And definitely going to have him on again. In the meantime, everybody, hope you enjoyed the show. See you again. Until then, peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.